All right, folks. Duke Machado here. We're podcasting a very special interview today with our Congressman Pete Sessions. The other day, I was watching a Robinson Town Hall, and I'm going to tell you, I was just blown away. Number one, there were quite a few people there, but a lot of Democrats, a lot of folks that were there to essentially shout down and try to get our congressman here caught up in traps. But you did great, sir. You did great, and commend you for just being there, being willing to speak, put yourself in front of the people like that. It's just it's great to see. And welcome to the program. I hope everything is well in your part of the world today.
Duke, it is. Thank you very much. And I would say to you that the things which you've said to me now come as a result of really knowledge of the ideas. I don't know everything, but I've been here for long enough and served in enough roles and enough committees and enough information to where I have a handle off the things that would allow me to be able to stand up and speak with not just confidence to myself, but be able to look people right in the eye and be able to say, no, that's not the way that is.
Yeah.
And here is the way it is. And I think that the other night, on Monday, a week ago, today's June the 25th, 2025, I think that some people expected me to, it's kind of like somebody going boo and you turning tail and running, or being afraid of a group. There were about 400 plus people there,
Mm-hmm.
and probably the vast majority of people came sure to see a showdown, but came with an idea that they were very secure in what they believed. And I think that we offered them a chance to learn truth. And I think one of the greatest things about my life is I can say, if truth comes from somewhere, even if it's not something that you invented or something that you subscribe to, you at least need to listen. And I think that we offered people an opportunity to know that things were not exactly the way they thought they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some responses that I heard you. Of course, I just watched the video, and by the way, our good friend and colleague Aaron Hernandez says hi. He
Good
was
man.
there. He was there standing his ground um,
Yeah,
early.
he was out front with the crowd before the thing started.
Yeah, yeah. So, look, we're real committed to the cause, and we 100% support you and what you're doing. But what did you get most from that town hall?
I think what I got most from the town hall was that people have opinions. And while I am not immune to understanding that not everybody agrees with me, I still need to never believe, oh, everything I do is exactly right. But I think that I learned again that sometimes group think or group speak or things that where the people hear the shrillest of evidence or the shrillest of things and try and draw conclusions from that. And I think there were at least probably, if we rolled the tape, there were at least 10 instances where people came in completely assuming one thing and found out perhaps there's more to the story. And
Mm-hmm.
and so what I learned is that I needed to have a chance instead of saying yes or no. I tried the perspective. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about it and put something into a storyline, a way that people could understand it. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a number of people who came up to me afterwards and said, if you had said yes or no, or just no, it would not have done me as a person who wants to educate myself off the issues. And you allowed me to consider and think about things maybe that I didn't think would be in an answer. And I said, well, good for us. Because
That's great.
that's
Yeah.
certainly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to come and just tell people, well, you're wrong, or okay, I'm wrong. It was more to, here's the scenario.
I'd say 50 to 60, maybe 70% of the questions were rigged, gotcha questions that were passed out to everybody right before the event. I mean, they just they read their questions so beautifully and passionately. The one about measles and how we're all going to die, that was just over the top. Um, I mean, sometimes I just wonder, like the other side, it gets so extreme sometimes that it makes you wonder, how can we meet in the middle? Are you able to meet in the middle, or is there a middle anymore, or who is the Democrat Party these days? Because I mean, they're your constituents. I can't imagine being where you're at. You also servicing and taking care of all their needs as well. You've got a tough job, especially when they're coming at you like that.
Well, I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I think also, once again, the confidence that I have that you can ask me a question, I can put a perspective into it and either defend where I am or admit, boy, you're just right. And so many of these things are hard to pick out if you just listen to the left. They want to demonize so many things, but there are things that have focus in them, and perhaps one of the biggest ones is the understanding that yes, we do need to do something about our debt. And yet, when I confronted, so to speak, them in telling the story,
Hmm.
they're on me. Do you realize that your new package would cause $2 trillion worth of debt? And I said, well, yes, I do. But what we're trying to stop and to change is the $6 trillion in debt that Barack Obama and the Democrats
Oh, they did. Yeah,
to
they didn't like hearing that. Yeah.
put into law that is permanent law until it changes because they had 60 votes. That is what is driving excessive spending and making it more difficult for America to turn corners and to get people to work. Boy, howdy, they didn't like that, but it's a fact.
Well, and that's it. It's like these are decisions that are being made now that should have been made a long time ago, and the longer they go, the harder it is to deal with because people have been taking advantage of all these benefits for all these years. They're comfortable now. They're that and it's going to end. The gravy train is ending, and it's, what they're upset about is that we're almost relishing in it, and I'm glad to see it ending. And they don't like that we're ending it for people. We're, like you said, we're not going to end it for anyone who has it coming, who deserves it or earned it, or whatever the
Yeah.
qualification is. If they're qualified, by all means, give them what they deserve. But those who don't, we got to cut it off.
Well, and that's when they wanted, meaning the crowd wanted to refer to us stopping all this spending, people were going to be hurt. I said, in my opinion, what we're trying to do is any person that is qualified for a benefit will still get it. It's the people who are receiving it that were not part of the law and not expected to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is about 18% of misdirected payments that is in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, across the board, about 18%. And then you really wanted to say, okay, you're trying to say it's okay if we and save it for who it's intended for, but how can you not agree with me that we've got to do something about it?
Yeah, it's to do something about it. That's it's never done because people don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because it's toxic, and you've got to be in an environment like, I mean, I would say like we are now with a president who's going to back us up or back you up and hold the line and say yes, make these cuts, yes, do these hard things that must be done. We don't have time to waste, and on top of trying to get our own house in order,
Yeah.
like the world is on fire. It seems like. I'm gonna switch gears and get off of that town hall. But again, I think you did a great job, and just appreciate you willing to do it. It just means a lot.
We've
So
got 14 counties, so we're having to
yeah,
go
that's a lot.
throughout this district pretty much one at a time.
Yeah, well, maybe some of those counties can watch this podcast and get to know a little bit more. So let's talk about bombing Iran. So I feel like I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I think it was the right time. Um, I think the results are pretty clear that we ended that nuclear program and a threat. And I also see results from the Muslim world, from the Islamic world, that a lot of them are happy as well that that regime is ended. The terror, the years of what those Iranians have gone through, uh, there's like new hope and optimism, and it came from it came from a decision that Congress, or a lot of Congress people, are saying we didn't have the authority to do so. I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that. What's the truth on that? And talk about your thoughts on that particular move.
Well, the President of the United States is given in law and with a complete understanding that he has the ability to unilaterally make decisions that could result in a wider conflict, but that if he makes something, if the president does something in the short term, he does not have to seek a vote on the floor. It's what's called the War Powers Act. And the War Powers Act is comes into play when there is conflict and you are going to be using the use of force and really spending a lot of money. So it's two-sided. It's foreign policy as well as and policy that we have based upon a government. In other words, the consent of the Congress. And just opening those buckets up, it's hard to get everybody to agree. But the president, until he has done something that would demonstrably indicate that he was widening his effort or going to move beyond what his initial responses have been, I think that he does not trigger any real debate and certainly not a vote for the use of military.
Mm-hmm. The thing that has me kind of concerned, and also a lot of folks here, is the idea that they that those folks are so upset that they are mobilizing sleeper cells in the U.S. Um, what's the truth on that? I mean, obviously they exist.
We have seen that under President Obama, that an unparalleled number of people came to this country illegally. They came without a challenge. They came with simply, literally getting a ticket that would be given to them. About 10 million to 12 showed up and tried to evade an officer or being detected, and they are called gotaways. Those gotaways, while we have some video, I could not begin to tell you how many people are from where. But we do know that there are active people that we saw as early as and before 9/11. In Paterson, New Jersey on 9/11, they were delighted that the United States had been struck.
Mm.
We have seen that there are people now who want the United States to have problems. So I don't think that this is anything new to us. I think it's something where we've got to know that there is an enemy around us. We learned at the New York, at the Boston Marathon, the two brothers that were from Russia who were known to be on a suspected terrorist list. They were simply being watched. And today, those factors need to be looked at and they need to be removed from the country. So, this is where the Trump administration is attempting to say, we think it's better to avoid a problem rather than having a sleeper cell or somebody that is committed to the demise of the country. And I'm very proud of what this Homeland Security is doing to identify and remove people before they can act.
Israel is kind of on Trump's bad side right now, aren't they?
Well,
The kind of
I think that the president's trying hard, and he tried hard, I think, with the Iranians. He gave them a chance. Please negotiate. They chose not to do it. So he said, well, just so you know, within 2 weeks, trying to put some deadlines. Well, it really is about 3 days. But they reiterated they were not interested. Once we had, so to speak, done the things that we did and neutered, we were not there for change of leadership or regime. We were there because of the threat with nuclear weapons, and that
mm-hmm.
was in our best interest. And I think virtually everybody agrees with that. But once it went a little bit further, he realized, okay, we've now achieved what we need. We'd like to stop not just the bombing with each other, but the everybody being after each other. And I think the president was right to do that. And it will be interesting to see what happens. But the bottom line is that Israel did move forward and throw some more punches.
The other day, I was my wife and my daughter and I we were watching the Chosen series. Have you watched any of that?
I have not yet.
The Chosen, it's a good series. It's historical with a lot of filler scenes in the story of Jesus and all that. But Simon, one of the disciples there, Simon had his name changed to Peter by Jesus, and it was interesting because he said that he would be the rock, he would be the foundation of the church. Is that how you got your name, or are your parents very biblical like that? Would they have named you Peter because of that?
Well, in fact, the direction you're going is exactly correct. My parents are both what are called PKs. They're both preacher kids, and they named us Lou or Luke, Peter or Pete, Mark for Mark, and Sarah for the Bible also. So all four of us took on names from the Bible. And my
Yep.
parents were deeply, deeply impacted by the Bible and the stories therein.
Yeah. Well, that's to me. I look at one of the issues, and years ago, I took a trip to the Netherlands for a music business at the time I was in, and I just ran into some people who were there to attend a rally, and it was part of their conservative movement, and they were talking about dealing with what they call the Muslim problem, and he explained how they were working in getting into elected offices and then taking territories and essentially getting to the point where they couldn't be removed, they couldn't be beaten. And I feel like we have some of that happens here in America. And do you feel like the American people need to be concerned with this Islamic jihad? Is it should we? It seems like we've kind of lulled ourselves into somewhat of a calm state, but I feel like we need to be more concerned, a little more amped up. What are your thoughts?
Today, the country is going through an awakening of figuring out. While we've heard China is not working in America's best interest, I don't think that everybody really understands the hundreds of billions of dollars worth of data and information that the Chinese have openly not only sought from us, but stolen from us in a deceptive way. They have used the things which we had available to the United States, what is commonly called MFN, Most Favored Nation status, which they were given. And that tends to say we have two countries that are going to agree we'll deal fairly with each other. And so I think that that is a reality that now has come to play where China is not here as a recognized friend. Well, the same thing would be true of Muslim fundamentalism. We learned a number of years ago, notwithstanding, the war that we had, about the need to understand that they are after our defensive mechanisms and the things that we do as a country, including, uh, uh, that would be covered in terrorism. And this terrorism model has found itself most distinct, not just around the world, but in America. And so I think that they have earned this viewpoint. They are willing to openly defy the United States. Certainly today or yesterday, we were looking at the election in New York, and the people who won literally could care less about America and would fight against America.
Mm.
And that's hard for probably someone who's a Texan, but I think it's hard for anybody, even that lives in the Northeast, to objectively put as a perspective, well, that's okay. I don't think it is okay. And so I think this, when these things play, it produces viewpoints that have made people understand or ask questions. What am I looking at? And it is anti-American activity.
Yeah, speaking of anti-American activity, Aram and I have been following a lot of what's happening here locally. We don't have to go very far. We've got our own PSL, a Party of Socialism and Liberation, right here in Waco. They work hand in hand with Alan Northcutt and his Friends of the Weather, or Friends of the World, or whatever his group is called. Um, they work with now they work with the illegal immigrants. They've unified with the illegal immigrants. They've unified with the Free Palestine. They were at one point, I think, unified with BLM as well, and they work hand in hand with the Democrat Party. So I feel like this is creeping in, and it's not a creep anymore. It's more of a push, and we're not doing anything about it. And because of that, they just keep growing and gaining. And kind of like what you saw at that town hall, that's them kind of flexing a little bit.
Well, I don't think there's any question that you see evidence of not only people who strongly identify with the Communist Party and certainly socialism, but people who feel very comfortable in opposing Donald Trump and going literally as far left as they can because that is actually where they are. They are people who see things in opposite manners. They see things where they are embarrassed with the United States of America. They are embarrassed with capitalism. And they're embarrassed to such a perspective that they would literally give up the things that make America the best country in the world. And this is where we have to recognize this as conservatives, as Republicans. We have to show up in more than fly our flag. We have to recognize that we need to talk about, teach, and train the benefits of capitalism, touch and train the benefits of having jobs in a free enterprise system.
Mm.
And all these things are important and they all will come to play. And I think when we do, the Democratic Party net loses votes.
And one thing you said in the town hall, someone asked about how do you plan to invest in the future of the district. I like your answer. It was something along the lines of you're going to invest it in people. You're going to invest it in jobs, training, technology. The future of our area is bright. If you take advantage now, you could live a great life here in this region for many many years. What We'll end on a couple positives here. What are you working on right now for District 17? I don't know if now is even the time, but bills or things that would affect our district.
Well, today I was out just before I came on this and was with a group of survivors from the Kovar Tower bombing in uh, that took place in Saudi Arabia 29 years ago. And this was the anniversary of those, and there were 8 or 9 men who survived that, who showed up in Washington, still with the idea of not just patriotism on their mind, but remembering the men and women, the some 19 people that gave their life, and then the others who have been forever injured in that process. The second thing that I'm working on is I'm the subcommittee chairman for government reform and oversight, the subcommittee on government operations. And any federal government operation anywhere in the world, we have original jurisdiction for. And to not just look at it and question it, but to investigate it and expect to get answers from the administration. We believe that this unintended consequence of losing about $500 billion a year in for whatever reason happens that we're looking at, we need to stop that. We think that's in the best interest of everybody. And so I do spend a good bit of my time in Washington doing that.
Do you get to talk to President Trump much?
Much is an interesting word. I do occasionally. I was with him with my 31-year-old Down syndrome son 2 weeks ago at the White House. Then we were off last week, and so he is busy now negotiating this new big beautiful
Yeah.
bill. He's busy. So no, I have not really had time
Oh.
this year. When I was chairman of the Rules Committee in 17 and 18, I spent a good bit of time with the president working on issues.
What about Elon? Is he a pretty cool guy?
Elon is a cool guy. Elon is a capitalist. Elon is someone that will look at things that happen and fight for them, and that's what we got.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a great conversation. I don't want to tie you up. You got a lot of things to do. I'll give you a final word to the constituents here in your district back home.
I think it's important that we recognize here in June of 2025 that we live in the greatest country in the world. That Dallas, Texas, due south to San Antonio, Texas, and east to Houston, and straight up 45, that this represents what's called the Texas Triangle. And about 80% of all Texans live in that triangle, and the economic opportunities abound. The future of where our state is in this triangle, and the enormous ventures that we have to prove in include doubling the size of our electricity and doing other things that will prepare our workforce for the future. I think that that is one of the most important things that we've got to do. I remember growing up under what would be Star Wars, and looking into the future and looking into the heavens and the skies and NASA and all these things. But people like you and people who are just slightly younger than you, think about Buzz Lightyear, that great American philosopher who said, "From here to infinity and beyond." And that is the staggering truth that we need to be prepared for the future. So we're going to be ready. Texas is going to be ready, and we're going to build a workforce for the future that is very important for all of us. And that's the daunting challenge on us all.
It's a great message. I'm glad to be here in the Central Texas area, in this district. We're going to flourish, I think, for many years. Pleasure to have you on, sir. Congressman Pete Sessions, U.S. Congressman, District 17. Thank you for all your hard work and for your commitment. I know it's not an easy job, so thank you. And again, for standing strong for conservatism and for our values. Take care.
Well, I'm hoping I did well enough, Duke, to be invited back.
Well, of course, you know that. If I could, I'd have you as a regular, but you're so busy. All right, guys, we're out of here. Duke Machado, take it easy.
Thank you.